The night was quiet, the kind of quiet that made every small sound feel louder. John sat in his small house at the edge of town. The rain tapped gently against the window, and the wind whispered through the trees outside. He was used to lonely nights. He worked during the day and spent his evenings reading or watching old movies. He never expected anything strange to happen in his simple life. But then, at midnight, a sound broke the silence. It was a knock, soft at first, then louder, steady and strange. John froze. His heart started to beat faster. No one ever came to his house this late. Not his neighbors, not his friends, not even the postman. Midnight was for sleep, not for visitors. John walked slowly to the door, each step heavy. He thought about ignoring it. Maybe it was just the wind, maybe a branch against the wall. But the knock came again, louder this time, strong enough to shake the wooden frame. He reached out and unlocked the door, his hand shaking a little. When he opened it, he could not believe what he saw. A woman stood there, but not like any woman he had ever seen before. Her clothes were torn and dirty, her hair wet and tangled from the rain. Her face was pale, almost gray, and her eyes seemed to glow faintly under the porch light. She looked weak, shivering in the cold night air. Her voice cracked as she spoke, soft and broken. "I only have $3. Please let me shower at your home, human." The way she said human made John's skin crawl. It was not a normal way to speak. She said it like she was not one herself. John blinked, his mouth dry. He thought maybe it was a prank, maybe some girl from town playing a trick. But when he looked closer, he noticed lines on her skin, glowing faint blue like veins of light running under the surface. No human skin looked like that. The rain poured harder. The woman hugged herself, shivering. She looked desperate, her eyes wide, waiting for an answer. John's mind raced. Should he let her in? Should he close the door? Something inside told him that if he let her walk away, something terrible might happen. He stepped aside slowly, his voice uncertain. "Come in," he whispered. The woman nodded weakly and stepped into the warm house, drops of water falling from her hair onto the floor. The moment she entered, John felt the air change. The lights flickered just for a second and a strange humming sound passed through the walls. He rubbed his arms, wondering if it was just his imagination. The woman stood in the middle of the room, her eyes wandering like she had never seen a human home before. John handed her a towel and pointed to the bathroom. She clutched the towel with both hands like it was a precious gift. "Thank you," she said, her voice still carrying that strange echo. When the bathroom door closed, John sat on the couch, his mind spinning. He could hear the water running, but along with the water came another sound, a low hum, like electricity, like the buzz of a machine. He frowned, leaning closer to the door. The sound was not normal. After a while, the door opened and the woman stepped out. Her face was cleaner now, her hair smooth and shining, and the glowing lines on her skin were brighter. She looked more human than before, but also more strange. Her eyes sparkled like stars hidden in the night sky. John swallowed hard. "Who are you?" he asked softly. The woman looked at him, her expression serious. For a moment, she stayed silent, as if choosing her words carefully. Then she said, "Not from here, not from your earth." John's chest tightened. He felt both fear and curiosity. His normal life had just ended. Something far bigger had walked through his door. Outside, the wind howled louder, the rain fell in sheets, and somewhere in the distance, a light flashed across the sky. John did not notice it yet, but the night was no longer normal. His world had already changed. The woman sat on the chair, clutching the towel, her eyes filled with exhaustion and something else. "Fear," she whispered again, almost to herself. "They will come. They always come." John leaned forward, his voice shaking. "Who will come?" he asked. But she only shook her head, staring at the window, as if expecting someone, or something, to appear any moment. The knock at midnight had opened a door not just in his house, but in his life. He did not know it yet, but nothing would ever be the same again. The storm outside grew louder, the rain striking the windows like small stones, but inside the little house there was silence, only the sound of water dripping from the alien woman's hair onto the floor. John sat on the couch, staring at her, his mind full of questions he could not even form. She looked weak, fragile, but at the same time, there was something about her that felt dangerous, like a wild animal forced into a cage. The woman's glowing lines pulsed softly under her skin. Every few seconds they faded, then brightened again. John could not look away. It was both beautiful and terrifying. She noticed his staring and pulled the towel tighter around her body, her voice trembling. "I am sorry. I should not be here, but I had no choice." John swallowed, his throat dry. "You said you're not from Earth," he whispered. "That's not possible. It can't be." But deep inside, he knew what his eyes saw could not be denied. This was no normal woman. The woman's hands shook as she looked around the room, her eyes studying every detail. The clock on the wall, the photos on the table, the light bulb buzzing above them. She touched the wooden chair, almost with one dare, as if she had never seen anything so simple. "Your world is different," she said softly, quiet, warm, safe. Her voice carried that strange echo again. John leaned forward, his fear battling with curiosity. "Why did you come here?" he asked. "Why my home?" The woman looked at him, her glowing eyes meeting his, and for a moment John felt exposed, like she could see every thought inside his head. "I followed the light," she whispered. "I did not know where else to go. Only that I could not be seen. I only had $3 of your dollars. I thought maybe I could trade them for safety, for a shower, for just one moment to hide." John tried to laugh, but it came out shaky. $3 won't buy you much here," he said. But then his expression turned serious again. "Who are you running from?" The woman froze, her fingers tightening around the towel. Her eyes darted toward the window as the rain hammered harder. "Hunters," she said finally, her voice barely audible. "They follow me across the dark, across the stars. They will not stop until I am gone." A chill ran down John's spine. He turned his head slowly toward the window. The storm outside seemed heavier now, the thunder rolling like footsteps in the distance. The idea that someone was hunting her made his skin crawl. She suddenly winced, holding her arm. The glowing marks along her skin flickered wildly like a broken circuit. John jumped up. "Are you hurt?" he asked. She shook her head quickly. "Not hurt, just weak. The air here is heavy but cleaner than where I came from." John wanted to ask more, but the sound from the bathroom caught his attention. The shower had left behind a strange scent in the air. Not soap, not shampoo, but something metallic, sharp like ozone after lightning. He noticed the tiles glowing faintly, like they had absorbed some of her energy. His mouth went dry, he realized. She was not just strange, she was dangerous to his world itself. The woman sat down slowly, her body trembling. She looked at him with eyes full of exhaustion. "You showed me kindness," she whispered. "Most would have closed the door. Most would have let me drown in the storm. Why did you not?" John did not have an answer. Maybe it was pity. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the feeling that if he shut the door, he would regret it forever. He shrugged weakly. "I don't know," he said. Silence filled the room, only broken by the wind howling outside. The woman leaned back in the chair, closing her eyes for a moment. Her breathing was shallow, like every breath was an effort. For the first time, John noticed how thin she was, how starved. He wondered how long she had been running. Then, without warning, the lights flickered again, this time longer. The bulb above them buzzed angrily before steadying. John's chest tightened. He knew it wasn't just the storm. She opened her eyes, fear flashing across her face. "They are close," she whispered. "Closer than I thought." John stood up, panic rising in his chest. "Who?" he demanded. But she only shook her head, standing now too, her glowing marks brighter, pulsing faster. "If they find me, they will not let you live. You helped me, and that makes you their enemy too." John stared at her, his thoughts spinning. His life, simple and quiet just hours ago, was now tangled in something far beyond him. He wanted to believe this was a dream, but the fear in her eyes told him it was all real. The storm roared outside, a crash of thunder rattling the glass. John walked to the window, his hands shaking. In the distance, through the curtain of rain, he saw a flash, not lightning, but something sharper, controlled, like a beam of light sweeping the ground. His blood ran cold. He turned back to the woman, but she was already staring at the same direction. Her eyes glowed brighter, and her voice dropped to a whisper. "They have found me." John's heart pounded in his chest. He realized the strange guest was not just a visitor. She was the beginning of something much larger. The hunters were here, and his quiet life was gone forever. The rain outside beat harder against the glass, each drop like a drum of warning. John stepped back from the window, his breath shaky. His world had changed in only a few hours. First a midnight knock, now strange lights sweeping through the storm, and an alien woman trembling in his living room. She stood with her arms wrapped tight around herself, her glowing marks flickering in uneven pulses. John could see fear in her eyes, the kind of fear that did not belong to a normal person. It was deeper, older, like she had been running from shadows her whole life. John's voice cracked as he whispered, "You need to tell me everything. Who are they? Why are they chasing you? Why come here? Why me?" The woman looked at him, her glowing eyes reflecting the weak light bulb above them. For a long moment she said nothing. Then she sat down slowly, her movements heavy, like she carried the weight of worlds on her shoulders. "I should not tell you," she whispered, "but you already opened your door. You already chose. Now you must know." John swallowed hard, sitting across from her, his hands clenched and unclenched. Part of him wanted to throw her out and lock the door, but another part leaned forward, needing to know. "My name is Lyra," she said, her voice soft but clear. "I am from a place you do not know, a world torn apart. My people lived under skies that bled fire, under oceans turned black. We were not always like this. Once we were strong, free, proud." Her eyes lowered, glowing faintly. "Then the hunters came." The word hung heavy in the air. John's stomach twisted. "Hunters," he repeated. "What are they?" Lyra's voice trembled. "They are not one race, not one people. They are many, bound together by greed. They track the weak. They capture. They sell. They saw my world as nothing more than a market. My people became slaves, tools, bodies with no names." Her hands gripped the towel so tightly that her knuckles turned white. John's chest tightened. He wanted to say it sounded impossible, but the look in her eyes silenced him. She was not lying, not with that pain. "I ran," Lyra continued. "I escaped with nothing. I hid in the wreckage of broken ships. I drifted across the dark until I saw your planet. I thought maybe here, in this small world forgotten by the stars, I could disappear." She looked at him, her glowing eyes sharp. "But they never stop. They will not stop, even if it means burning your sky." John felt his hands tremble. The thought of something burning the earth made his stomach twist. He shook his head. "Why here? Why me? You could have gone to anyone." Lyra tilted her head, studying him. "No, not anyone. I followed a light. Not from your sky, but from you. Do you not see? Humans are not like the others. You carry something different, something dangerous to them." John frowned. "Dangerous, me? I'm nobody." Lyra leaned closer, her voice sharp now. "You are human, that is enough. They fear you, not for what you have, but for what you are, for your heart, your will, your refusal to bend." John stared, his throat dry. He wanted to argue, but her words sank deep into him. He remembered all the times in his life he had stood against things he knew were wrong, even when he was weak, even when he was alone. Maybe she was right. Maybe humans carried something unseen. The house shook suddenly, a low rumble passing through the walls. John jumped, his eyes wide. "What was that?" Lyra's face paled. "They are closer. They are searching. Every moment we waste puts you in danger." John's head spun. He rubbed his temples. "So what do we do? If they're as strong as you say, I can't fight them." Lyra hesitated, then pulled the towel aside, revealing more of her glowing skin. The marks were not random. They formed patterns, lines that shifted like maps or codes. John gasped. "What is that?" Her voice dropped to a whisper. "A secret, stolen from them, burned into me. It is why they chase me. It is why they will not stop. I carry something they cannot lose." John stared at the marks, glowing like rivers of light across her body. He felt both awe and terror. "What happens if they catch you?" he asked. Lyra's eyes hardened. "Then your world will no longer belong to you. Humanity will become their next market. Your people will kneel, your skies will burn." John's stomach twisted. He stood pacing the room. His life had been simple, and now it was gone, replaced by a storm he never asked for. Yet when he looked at Lyra, shivering, desperate, he felt something else. Responsibility. He turned to her, his jaw tight. "Then I can't let them find you," he said. His voice shook, but his eyes burned with determination. Lyra blinked, her expression softening for the first time. You would stand against them. For me, you do not even know me. John shrugged weakly. You knocked on my door, that's enough. Maybe that means something. For a long moment, she stared at him, then nodded slowly. Her eyes shimmered with something that almost looked like hope. Then you are not nobody, she whispered. The storm outside roared louder, the lights flickered again, and the distant hum of machines echoed through the night. John clenched his fists. The secrets had unfolded, but danger was only beginning. The storm outside seemed endless. Thunder rolled across the dark sky like heavy drums. John stood frozen near the window, his breath quick and shallow. And the lights in the room flickered again, and the faint hum grew louder, steady now, like engines hidden in the clouds. Lyra's glowing marks pulsed wildly. Her body trembled as if she could feel them approaching. They are here, she whispered. I can sense them. The hunters have found me. Her voice cracked with fear, but there was also anger. John's chest tightened. He had hoped maybe she was wrong. Maybe it was only his imagination, but deep down he knew the truth. The strange light he saw earlier was no storm lightning. It was them searching, closing in. A sudden flash lit up the street outside. Not lightning, but a beam of pale blue light sweeping across the ground. John ducked back from the window, pulling the curtain closed. His heart pounded in his chest like a drum. What do they want from you? He whispered harshly. Why can't they let you go? Lyra shook her head. It is not me they want. It is what I carry. She lifted her arm, the glowing pattern shining brighter. If they take this, they will have power to crush more worlds, to chain more lives, to own more skies. John clenched his fists. He wanted to scream, but fear held his throat. And if they find you here, he asked, what happens to me? Lyra's eyes met his, cold and honest. They will erase you. You helped me. That makes you an enemy to them. They will not let you live. The word stabbed deep into John's chest. He backed away, his legs weak. He wanted to deny it, but he could see the truth in her glowing eyes. His quiet life was gone. His safe home was no longer safe. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed outside. Metal against metal. John flinched, his hands shaking. He crept to the window again, pulling the curtain only a little. In the rain, he saw dark shapes, tall and sharp, moving with unnatural speed. They did not walk like men. They glided, half machine, half flesh, cloaked in black armor that shimmered against the storm. His blood ran cold. My God, he whispered. His knees felt weak. The hunters were rock. Eel. One of them lifted a strange device, scanning the street. The beam of blue light cut through the storm like a knife. Trees bent under the force of their energy, and the air itself seemed to shake. Lyra stood, her body glowing brighter. Her fear was clear, but she forced her voice steady. They are searching, but not yet inside. We must hide. You must stay silent. John nodded. Though his mind screamed, he helped her move toward the back of the house. Every floorboard creaking under their weight felt like thunder in his ears. He could hear the hunters outside, their steps heavy, their machines humming like beasts sniffing for prey. They reached the kitchen, and Lyra pressed her hand against the wall. For a moment, the glowing marks on her skin flared, and the humming sound inside the house faded. John's eyes widened. What did you do? He whispered. A cloak, she said, her breathing heavy. Only for a moment. It will hide us, but not for long. John's heart raced. He crouched beside her, listening to the sound of the hunters drawing closer, his mind filled with fear and questions. He wanted to run, but where could he go? The storm outside was full of them. The door rattled suddenly, a heavy hand striking it from the other side. John almost cried out, but Lyra grabbed his arm, her glowing fingers burning against his skin. Quiet, she mouthed. The sound of metal scraping filled the house. The hunters were testing the door. The wood groaned under the weight. John's heart pounded so hard he was sure they could hear it. Minutes felt like hours. The hunters moved around the house, scanning, watching, listening. John's entire body shook, sweat rolling down his back. He prayed they would leave, but deep down he knew they would not stop. Then, a sharp voice echoed through the storm, mechanical, cold. Target near. Energy detected. Proceed. John's blood froze. Hay had found the trace. Lyra's eyes widened. Her marks glowed fiercely now. They are breaking through, she whispered. We must move. John grabbed her hand without thinking. "Where?" he asked, but before she could answer, the front window shattered. A beam of blue light slicing through the living room, the air filled with smoke and sparks. The hunters stepped inside, their armor dripping with rain, their glowing eyes scanning like predators. They carried weapons that hummed with deadly power. The house was no longer safe. It was a cage. Lyra pulled John toward the back door. "Run!" she hissed. Her glow lit the kitchen like fire. John stumbled after her, his fear giving way to raw instinct. The sound of the hunters' boots shook the floor, growing closer. They burst through the back door into the storm, rain soaking them instantly. John's lungs burned as he ran, his feet splashing through mud and puddles. Behind him the hunters gave chase, their beams of light cutting through the night. John turned his head just once, and what he saw burned into his memory. The hunters were relentless, their black forms slicing through the rain. Their weapons tore apart the earth, sending sparks and dirt into the air. They looked unstoppable. Lyra pulled him forward, her voice sharp. "Do not look back. If you stop, you die." John pushed himself harder, his chest aching, his mind screaming. He did not know where they were going, only that the world he once knew was gone. The hunters had arrived, and his life had become a storm with no end. The storm raged above them, rain falling in heavy sheets, thunder rolling like drums of war. John's lungs burned as he ran through the muddy path behind his house, his shoes sinking deep into the wet ground. Beside him, Lyra pulled him forward, her glowing marks brighter than ever, lighting their path through the darkness like lines of living fire. Behind them, the hunters gave chase, their heavy steps pounding against the earth, beams of blue light cut across the rain. Echo, knee striking the ground with a sharp hiss, burning through trees and soil alike. John dared to glance back once, and what he saw nearly froze him in place. The hunters were faster, gliding rather than running, their eyes glowing red through the storm. "Keep going!" Lyra shouted, her voice echoing strange in the night. "Do not stop, not now." John stumbled but pushed himself forward. Every part of him screamed to give up, but fear kept his legs moving. Fear of what would happen if they caught him, fear of what they would do to Lyra. They darted into the forest, branches snapping under their weight. The storm made everything darker, but Lyra's glowing skin lit the way. John could see the hunters behind them, flashes of red eyes through the trees, their weapons humming with deadly power. At last they reached a shallow cave, half hidden by rocks and vines. Lyra dragged John inside, her glowing skin dimming as she pressed her hand against the stone wall. A faint ripple spread across the rock, and suddenly the hum of the hunters' scanners grew faint, muffled, as if they could not detect them. John collapsed onto the cold ground, gasping for air, his chest heaving, his heart hammered like a drum inside his chest. What is happening to my life?" he muttered between breaths. "This is insane. This is impossible." Lyra leaned against the wall, her glowing marks still flickering like fading embers. She looked weak, her eyes heavy. "It is real," she whispered, "and it will not end soon. You are part of it now, whether you want it or not." John wiped the rain from his face, frustration boiling inside him. "I didn't ask for this," he snapped. "I didn't ask for hunters or glowing marks or danger. I just wanted a normal life." His voice cracked, his fear spilling out as anger. Lyra looked at him, her expression unreadable. "Do you think I asked for this?" she said quietly. "Do you think I wanted to run from world to world, hunted like an animal? I lost everything, my family, my home, my people, and now I drag you into my curse." Her voice broke, her eyes shining with sorrow. John froze, guilt rushing through him. He realized she was not just a stranger who brought chaos into his life. She was a survivor, broken and desperate, carrying a burden far heavier than his own. Slowly he nodded. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I didn't mean it like that." The cave was silent for a moment, only the sound of the storm outside. John finally sat up straighter, looking at her carefully. "Why me, though?" he asked softly. "Why my door? Out of everyone on this planet?" Lyra's eyes flickered, glowing faintly. "Because you opened it," she said. "You let me in. Most would have closed it. Most would have turned away. But you showed me trust, even when I was nothing but dirt and fear at your doorstep." John's chest tightened at her words. He remembered the moment he saw her standing there, soaked, broken, begging with only $3 in her hand. Something deep inside him had told him not to shut the door, and now he knew why. Lyra sat closer, her voice low. "My people used to believe trust was weakness. that only strength mattered, that belief destroyed us. It let the hunters enslave us. But humans, you are different. You trust, you care, even when it costs you. John's throat tightened. He wanted to argue, to say he was nothing special, but something in her words gave him strength. Maybe she was right. Maybe trust was his only weapon against fear. Suddenly, the sound of heavy steps echoed outside the cave. The hunters were close again. Their scanners hummed, sweeping the forest. John tensed, but Lyra grabbed his arm, her eyes sharp. "Do not move. Do not breathe too loud," she whispered. John held his breath, his heart pounding painfully. The hunters moved past the cave, their lights cutting through the storm, but the ripple on the stone held, hiding them. At last the sounds faded, swallowed by the thunder and rain. John exhaled slowly, his whole body shaking. He turned to Lyra, whispering, "How long can we keep running like this?" Lyra looked at him, her eyes glowing softly. "As long as it takes," she said. "Until I find safety, until you understand your strength, until we turn from prey into something more." John stared at her, confused. "My strength? I'm just a man. I can't fight them." Lyra touched his hand lightly, her glowing skin warm against his. "You can," she whispered. "Not with their weapons, not with their machines, but with what makes you human. That is what they fear most. They cannot steal it. They cannot cage it. That is why they hate you." Her words sank deep into him, and for the first time, John felt something stronger than fear, a spark of determination. The hunters were still out there, waiting, but inside the cave, something new had formed. A fragile bond built not on power but on trust. John looked out at the storm, his jaw tight. "Then we fight," he whispered. "Somehow, some way, we fight." Lyra's eyes shone brighter, a faint smile touching her lips. "Yes," she said softly. "Together." Outside, the hunters prowled the night, their machines humming, their weapons ready. But inside the cave, in the middle of the storm, a human and an alien found something the hunters could never touch. Trust. The cave was dark. Only a faint glow from Lyra's skin lit the walls. The storm outside had calmed a little, but the hunters were still there, their machines humming through the forest, searching, waiting. John sat with his back against the cold stone, his body tired, but his mind restless. He could not escape the questions pounding inside his head. At last he turned to Lyra, his voice low. "You keep talking about secrets, about something inside you. If I am risking my life for you, I need to know the truth. What are you hiding?" Lyra looked at him, her glowing eyes sad. For a long moment she said nothing. Then, slowly, she pulled the towel from her shoulder, revealing the glowing marks fully. They spread across her arms, her chest, and her neck, like rivers of fire flowing beneath her skin. John stared in awe, unable to look away. "This," she whispered, her fingers brushing the glowing lines, "is more than my blood. It is knowledge, locked inside me, stolen from the hunters. It is their greatest weapon, a code, a map, a key to power beyond what you can imagine." John's mouth went dry. "So that's why they're chasing you," he said, "because you carry this thing inside you." Lyra nodded, her expression heavy. "If they capture me, if they take it back, they will spread their chains across more worlds. They will not stop with my people. They will come for yours. Humanity will kneel. Your skies will burn." John's heart pounded in his chest. He looked down at his shaking hands. He had thought his life was small, unimportant. But now, sitting across from this alien woman, he realized the weight of it. The hunters did not just threaten her, they threatened everyone. Lyra leaned closer, her voice a whisper. "Do you understand now? You are not just helping me, you are standing for your world, you are standing for your people." John swallowed hard, his fear still clawed at him, but her words planted something deeper, responsibility. He met her glowing eyes. "Then what do we do? How do we fight them?" Lyra's marks flickered brighter. "There is a way," she said slowly, "but it is dangerous. The code inside me can awaken. It can release energy strong enough to destroy their machines, but it will tear me apart if I am not careful." John shook his head quickly. "No, there has to be another way. You can't just burn yourself to stop them." Lyra gave a faint smile, though it was sad. "You are human. You always look for another way. That is what makes you dangerous to them. You refuse to accept that some battles cannot be won." John clenched his fists. Then we find a way together, he said firmly. His voice shook, but his eyes burned with determination. The cave grew silent. Only the distant hum of hunters filled the air. Lyra studied him, her glowing eyes softer now. You remind me of someone from my world, she said quietly. A leader who believed even the smallest voice could change the stars. He was destroyed for that belief. But when I look at you, I see the same fire. John blinked, his chest tightening. He was no leader, just a man from a small town, but Lyra's words filled him with a strength he had never known. He took a deep breath. Then maybe that's why you came to me, he whispered. Lyra reached out, her glowing hand resting gently on his. The warmth spread through his skin, steadying him. Perhaps, she whispered, perhaps fate brought me to your door, or perhaps you were always meant to choose. John's thoughts swirled. He had never believed in fate, never believed in destiny. But here, in this cave, hunted by monsters from the stars, it no longer felt impossible. Suddenly, the ground shook, a heavy rumble passing through the cave walls. Dust rained down from above. John's head snapped toward the entrance. What was that? He asked. Lyra's expression darkened. They are moving closer. They have machines that can break stone. They will not stop until they find us. John's pulse raced. Then we can't stay here, he said. We need a plan. Lyra stood slowly, her glowing marks pulsing like fire. The plan is simple, she whispered. Trust. You must trust me, even Ryerson. And everything in you screams to run. If you trust me, we may survive. If you doubt, we die. John's throat tightened. He thought about her words, about everything she had told him. He wanted to run, to hide, but deep down he knew there was no escape. Not for him, not for her, not for his world. He nodded slowly. I'll trust you, he whispered. Lyra's eyes softened, shimmering with something like hope. Then we have a chance, she said. Another crash echoed outside, louder this time. The hunters were near, their machines tearing through the forest. John stood beside her, his fear still heavy, but no longer controlling him. For the first time, he felt ready. Lyra looked at him, her voice low but steady. You wanted a normal life, but that life is gone. Now you must choose what kind of man you will be, and humanity must choose what kind of species it will be. John swallowed hard, staring at the cave entrance. The storm outside roared again, and the glow from Lyra's body lit the darkness around them. The revelation was clear now. This was not just about survival. This was about humanity itself, and John knew as the hunters closed in that the fight was only beginning. The night was almost over, the storm easing into soft rain, but the forest was still alive with danger. The hunters moved through the trees like shadows, their machines growling low, searching for the glow of the one who carried their secret. John stood at the edge of the cave with Lyra beside him, her skin glowing faintly in the dim light. He could feel the weight of everything pressing down on him. He had never wanted this, never asked for it, yet here he was, standing between a hunted alien and the monsters who chased her. His life had once been simple, but now it was tied to the fate of something far bigger. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch warm. This is the moment, she whispered. If we survive tonight, there will be hope. If we fall, your world may never rise again, Joe. N nodded, fear still in his chest, but also something else. Courage. He had trusted her, and now he had to prove it. He turned to her, his voice steady. Then let's end this, together. The hunters closed in, their lights cutting through the trees. The ground trembled as their machines stepped closer. Lyra stepped forward, her glowing marks flaring bright. She looked stronger now, as if his trust had given her strength. She raised her arms, and the glowing patterns across her skin began to shift, pulsing in rhythm. A low hum filled the air, louder and louder, until even the rain seemed to pause. John covered his ears, the sound vibrating in his chest. The hunters raised their weapons, their cold voices echoing, "Surrender the code, surrender or be erased." Lyra's eyes blazed with fire. "Never!" she shouted. Her body erupted with light, streams of energy shooting outward. The forest lit up like day. The hunters staggered, their machines sparking, their scanners failing. John watched in awe as the energy wave rolled across the ground, tearing through their technology. But Lyra's body shook violently, her knees bending, her breath sharp. John rushed forward, catching her before she could fall. "You can't do this alone," he cried. She looked up at him, her voice faint. "Then lend me your strength. Trust me. Believe." John tightened his grip on her. He closed his eyes, thinking of every reason he had opened his door to her, not because she was strange, but because she needed him, because it was right. In that moment, he gave her all of his trust, all of his will. Her glow flared brighter, steadier. The hunters screamed as their machines crumbled. One by one, their red eyes flickered out, until only silence filled the forest. The light faded slowly, and Lyra collapsed into John's arms, exhausted. Her marks still glowed faintly, but the danger had passed. For now, they had survived. John looked at the broken machines scattered among the trees, smoke rising into the night. He had never fought with weapons, never trained to face monsters. Yet here he was, standing victorious, not because of strength, but because of trust. Lyra opened her eyes weakly, her voice soft. "You proved me right, human. You are different. Your people are different. That is why the galaxy fears you." John smiled faintly, though his eyes burned with exhaustion. "Then let them fear us," he whispered, "because we won't kneel." Lyra touched his hand gently, her eyes glowing softly. "I must leave soon," she said. "If I stay, more will come, and you will always be in danger. But know this, what you showed me tonight will never be forgotten. Humanity will not be forgotten." John's chest tightened. He wanted to tell her to stay, to rest, but he knew she was right. She could not remain, not now. Her fight was bigger than this small town, bigger than him. She stepped back slowly, her glowing marks dimming. With one last look at him, she whispered, "You gave me trust. You gave me hope. And in the end, that is stronger than any weapon." John watched as she disappeared into the forest, the faint glow fading with each step. The rain washed over him, the night slowly returning to silence. He stood alone, but he did not feel the same as before. Something inside him had changed. The hunters had come for her, but in facing them, John had discovered something hidden within himself. Humanity was stronger than he ever knew, not because of power, not because of weapons, but because of the simple courage to trust. And as dawn broke, lighting the wet ground with soft gold, John whispered to the empty forest, "If you come back, I'll open the door again." Because deep down, he knew the story was not over.